Did you know that social media could actually be bad for your relationship? No, you did. You did. You knew. But why? I am Pauline, and I am so happy you are here because let's dive into social media and how it impacts your relationship, especially when you have the fearful avoidant attachment style, which brings its own challenges, and then social media comes along and makes that even worse. Because I used to be in the crash state of the fearful avoidant attachment style, but that is about 14 years ago. Very long ago. Before social media existed. And I remember thinking when I saw couples, and there was especially this one couple that I looked at and I thought, well, they are really happy. They are just completely made for each other. They will get married, have babies, be happy forever. And I was just convinced. I didn't even really know them that well. I never really talked to them, but I would see them around. I would know of them. And that was just my impression or projection of that couple. And lo and behold, about a year or two later, they broke up. And it wasn't actually completely sure why they broke up. Rumors were that he cheated. And I realized, oh, okay, so you never really know, do you? For years, for 2 or 3 years, I had them on this pedestal thinking they are just amazing. They are made for each other. And it wasn't so. They broke up, never got back together. And so I realized I don't know anything about other couples. And so when social media came along and I started doing this work, I was like, oh my goodness, I can just only imagine how much harder social media is gonna make this whole thing. This fearful avoidant attachment style, and the obsession with relationships and your feelings, and is it perfect or not? Because social media is not real life. Obviously, we know that. We hear that, just as that we hear movies are not real. But yet, in movies, you see people saying things to each other that people also say to each other in real life. And you see on social media people talking to each other, doing challenges, writing these really lovey-dovey captions. And you're like, but that's real, right? Is it? Is it not? Well, you never know. You never know. And apart from people faking things, which I just cannot even imagine, but that happens a lot on social media, apparently. Um, you don't know other couples' fears and beliefs. This is a very, very important one. When I really truly understood this, when I really truly um, realize this, that you never know what fears or beliefs other people are struggling with. They might have attachment issues also that come up in the relationship, but you never see that on the outside. And i I said, a lot of it is fake. I don't know what is fake or what isn't. I think a lot of people genuinely share things that they mean in that moment, but it's also just very one-sided, because you're not gonna just post everything, air everything, because there's a lot of things that you still have to process, or that you are in the middle of, that you don't really understand. I don't think there is anybody out there in the world on social media that is posting everything that is going on in their relationships, and then in their relationship, and then their own beliefs and their own fears, and their partner's beliefs and their partner's fears, just because they don't even know. They have no idea. And what I want you to realize is that you probably analyze about 1,000 times more than the average person. It took me so long to realize this, but when you have the fearful avoidant attachment style, and especially when you have relationship OCD, which coincides a lot, you are analyzing so much more often, more intensely, than 99.99% of people do. So you have an advantage in that you know a lot more when you really dive into it than a lot of other people. But don't make the mistake of thinking that other people are working as hard on themselves as you, are so aware of their own fears and beliefs as you, and analyze as much as you do. Am I feeling enough? Shouldn't I be feeling more? Is this the way we should be together? Is this what we should look on? A lot of people just don't care. A lot of people are not that into, analyzing every single thing. They just do. And they do things based on what they've learned, what they've seen in movies, what they've seen on social media. And based on their feelings, because we still believe in this society that feelings have to be on a pedestal, and when it feels good, you do the thing that feels good, and that is just not how feelings work. That is a topic for a different video that I've already talked about a lot, about feelings and why they shouldn't be on pedestals. But a lot of people still operate from that, system. Feelings are everything, and you have to follow your heart. Don't, because what is your heart? What are your feelings? And so people just make choices based on their beliefs, based on their history, their experiences, and you don't know all of that. So you see this little teeny tiny bit on social media, and there's like an iceberg that is underneath that you don't know, and you will never know. And so comparing, there is just no use. There is absolutely no use. Comparing yourself to others, there is no use, because you don't know their fears, you don't know their beliefs, you don't know what they are struggling with, what they don't even know, and what they do know, but that's just between them. So comparison does not make any sense. It will not bring you to a better relationship. The reason you do it is because you have such a hard time trusting yourself and trusting your own compass. And so you've learned when you were younger that you always have to look outward to see what other people are doing, if other people approve. You are wanting approval from others. And sometimes that's in the form of seeing things on social media and then thinking, oh, that's how it should be. It's not just the couples that, are sharing their happy moments. It's also the inspirational quotes that I sometimes see, and I sometimes, people send them to me and are like, I'm very much triggered by this. And I read it and I'm like, oh my goodness, where does this come from? It is not based in any science. It is not based on any real life experience. It is just a floating quote with no credits. And because you're susceptible to it, it is triggering. It can be triggering. So I would like you to just delete social media, but I know you're probably not going to do that. But just, I'm not triggered now anymore at all. So you can get to that point. Every time I see quotes or I see things, my love for my husband, this is going to sound weird. My security is based in science. It is based in real life inspiration. Because what you see in movies, what you hear in songs, and what you see on social media is not real life. We know that. Okay, good. Then we can just kind of park it. So what do? What I did when I realized that movies weren't real, again, social media wasn't a thing back then, I interviewed 100 couples who were happily married for over 40 years, because I thought, okay, I know movies are not real. Everybody's telling me that, but what does real love look like? I want to know what real love looks like. And I interviewed them, and it was so vastly different from what I saw in movies and what I see now on social media. Because when you've been married for a really long time, for 40 plus years, you have the privilege of being able to look back over a long period of time through different phases. So there could be somebody on social media who has had a relationship for like 8 years and say, oh, this is what works for us. And that's amazing. And I'm sure it works for them in that phase. But you can't know what really works until you're at the end of your life and you're looking back through all the phases. And it was such an eye-opening project. It was such an eye-opening 1.5 years that I did that, and I sat on couches with these couples who were in their 60s, 70s, 80s for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And I just could not get enough of their realistic romantic wisdom. They were so wise. They had learned so much. That was real life experience. And they were already at the end, they had nothing to prove. They had nothing to pretend. So they were brutally honest also about the hard parts. It was so incredibly insightful. And so I'm not triggered anymore, because whenever I read something, I know the science and I know the real life experience of people who are there where I want to get. I want to be married for a really long time. I want to build a beautiful, long-lasting marriage with my husband. And so when that is what you want, look to the people who have done that. If you are struggling with something, look to the people who have come through that and have come out of that. Comparing yourself to any other random person just is only going to make you unhappy. Success leaves clues, as I think Tony Robbins always says. So if you want a long-lasting happy marriage, find examples of people who have been very happily married for a very long time. Interview them, ask them questions. They are probably very willing to answer those questions. And if you are struggling really hard with the fearful avoidant attachment style right now, look to the people who have been there and have gotten out of that. That's why you're here, probably. And you are so very welcome here. And this is why I fight for you. I always, when I get up in the morning, I just think of ways to help you, because I know what it's like to be there, and I know what it's like to have been out of that for a while now. It's so far behind me. It's been years. And I know you're going to get there sooner or later. So I'm here to answer your questions, to make videos about, any topic that you want. So if you have a topic, put it down in the comments below. I always keep a list of everything that you say, that I read, and based on that, I make the videos. So you obviously can do with social media whatever you want. I'm not saying, completely delete it or not go on there. If you are triggered a lot, by the way, if you're triggered constantly, it might be better to just leave it for a while. And it's also okay to unfollow people who are triggering you, because then it's not serving you right now. And everything in your life should be serving you to a point. There's also service to others. But social media, especially, it should be serving you. If you open your feed and you're like, what am I going to see today that's going to trigger me? That is a sign that you need to unfollow a lot of people. So don't look for comparison. Don't compare yourself to peers, because with all due respect, so many of your peers have no idea what they're doing. They are doing their best. I'm not judging in any way. We're all doing our best. But they don't know what they're doing. And you, in a way, are much further ahead because you are working on yourself. You're learning. You're watching this video and probably a lot of other videos. You analyze so much more. You really want to get to a certain place. And 99% of people don't even have that. They don't, they aren't, they're doing what they're doing. And that's completely fine. Again, no judgment, but it's not serving you to compare yourself to that. So let go of comparison and look for inspiration from those who have done what you want to do, who have gotten where you want to get to. So long-lasting happy marriages, and those that are out of the fearful avoidant attachment style and have healed that. I am genuinely curious, because I went through the fearful avoidant crash state when there was no social media. So please let me know in the comments below, what is social media doing to you, to your thoughts, to your state of mind, to your relationship. I want to know if there's any way I can help even more. I want to know. So please let me know in the comments below. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. As always, I am so happy you are here, and I will see you in the next one.
Healed and Happy is a tailor-made online program where me and my team personally guide you through healing the roots of a fearful avoidant attachment style.